I work as a roadside assistance driver. You know those guys you call when your car breaks down in the middle of nowhere and you're sure no one's coming? That's me. I go out at all hours, in all kinds of weather, to jumpstart dead batteries, change flats, and tow people off the shoulder. It's a strange job. You see people at their most stressed, frightened, and grateful. But there's one call that still keeps me up at night, staring at the ceiling, listening for a sound I heard only once, out on a fog-covered highway that, by all accounts, should have been closed. It was a Sunday night, early spring, when the weather can't decide if it's winter or not. A thick fog had settled over the city and the surrounding highways. Visibility was so bad that the Department of Transportation had put out alerts. Avoid unnecessary travel. Expect closures. Use extreme caution. The kind of night everyone smart stayed home. I was halfway through my shift when dispatch patched a call through to my truck. I heard the faint beep and then the bored voice of our night operator, Carla. Unit 9, you copy? I grabbed the mic. This is 9. Go ahead. Got a stranded motorist on Highway 47, northbound, near mile marker 118, she said. Reports engine failure, no hazards, heavy fog. Can you respond? I frowned. I thought 47 North was closed after 110 because of the fog and that construction by the bridge. Yeah, that's what I thought too, but the call came in from that location, Carla said. I could hear her typing. Mail caller. Gave his name as Daniel Price. Says his car died and he can't see the shoulder, doesn't want to get out. Sounds pretty shaken up. I sighed. You try CHP. Maybe they can send a unit to close the lane. They're swamped with pileups on the southbound. You're the closest vehicle. Just go check it out, okay? Maybe he misread the mile marker. Copy that, I said, though my gut immediately tightened. I turned off the side road I'd been on and headed toward the on-ramp for 47. The fog got thicker with every mile, swallowing the street lights and reducing the world to the two cones of my headlights and the wet hiss of tires on asphalt. As I merged onto the northbound lanes, an electronic sign loomed out of the white wall. 47, north closed at mile 110, use alt route. Yellow lights flashed around the message. I keyed my mic. Carla, I'm on 47 now. Sign confirms closure at 110. You sure about that? 118. Reading what's on my screen, she replied. He said 118. You know how people are. He's probably near 108 and miscounted. Just go as far as you safely can. If you can't find him, turn back. Roger that, I said. The further I drove, the more isolated I felt. The fog muffled all sound, wrapping the truck in a cocoon of gray. The dashboard glowed softly, the radio was turned low, and the only other sign of life was the occasional reflection of my own hazard lights in the mist when I tested them. I didn't see another car, not one. Mile marker 104 slid past on my right, then 106, then 108. Each sign appeared at the last second, its green metal wet and glistening, numbers looming, then vanishing behind me. At 110, I expected to see barricades, cones, maybe a state trooper car with its light bar cutting through the fog. There was nothing. The road just kept going, vanishing into the same impenetrable whiteness ahead. My stomach sank. Carla, I said into the mic, I'm at 110. There's no closure, no signs, no cones, nothing. She was quiet for a second. You sure? I'm looking at 111 now, I answered, my voice tighter than I'd like to admit. The radio crackled faintly. That's weird, she said. Traffic cams show a hard closure at 1 and 10. CHP feed 2. You sure you're on 47 North? I glanced at the next sign, passing 112. I'm sure. The world narrowed to the painted lines under my headlights and the glowing green markers ticking by. 113, 114, 115. Then, through the fog, I saw red. Not the sharp flash of emergency lights, but the dull, steady glow of brake lights. A car sat dead ahead in the right lane, hazy and indistinct until I was almost upon it. I slowed and flipped on my hazards, pulling up behind the vehicle at a cautious distance. It was an older sedan, dark blue, with a light dusting of moisture over the trunk and rear window. The license plate was streaked with grime, but I could make out the numbers. There was no movement inside. I grabbed my high-visibility jacket and stepped out of the truck. The fog swallowed the sound of my door shutting, leaving an eerie, heavy silence. Even my own footsteps felt dampened, like I was walking on carpet instead of asphalt. I approached the driver's side cautiously. The window was up, and I saw a silhouette in the driver's seat. A man sitting very still, hands on the wheel. I knocked on the glass. "Roadside assistance," I called. "You, Daniel?" Slowly, the figure turned his head toward me. The window rolled down halfway with a squeal. The man inside looked to be in his early 30s, pale, with short dark hair plastered to his forehead with sweat. His eyes were wide, whites showing all around. "You took long enough," he said, voice trembling. "Fog's bad," I replied, keeping my tone calm. "You did the right thing staying in the car. Engine trouble?" He nodded jerkily. "It just died. All at once. Lights, engine, everything. I managed to coast to a stop, but I can't tell where the shoulder is. I didn't want to get out and walk around. Feels like there's nothing out there." I forced a reassuring smile. "You're fine. You're in the right lane. I've got my truck behind you with hazards on. We'll get you towed somewhere safe. You alone?" He swallowed. "Yeah, alone." The way he said it made something prickle at the back of my neck. "Pop the hood for me," I said. He did. I went around to the front, and the fog thickened, wrapping around me like cold cotton. I leaned over the engine with my flashlight. Battery terminals looked fine. No obvious leaks. But there was something off. The metal was cold. Not cold from the weather, but cold like it hadn't been running at all. No residual warmth. No faint ticking of cooling components. It felt like this car had been sitting here for hours, maybe longer, not like it had just coasted to a stop. I closed the hood and went back to the driver's window. "I'll hook you up and tow you back toward town," I said. "We'll figure out the rest at the shop. You can stay in the car. Don't leave me here," he blurted, cutting me off. I blinked. "I'm not leaving. I'll be right behind you, in the truck." His eyes darted to the fog beyond the faint halo of my truck's lights, then back to me. "You don't hear it?" he whispered. "Hear what?" He licked his lips. "Listen." I stood still. At first, all I heard was the faint hum of my truck's engine, the tick of cooling metal, and the almost inaudible patter of moisture settling on the road. Then, underneath it, I heard something else. A low, distant roar, not thunder, not wind, closer to the combined sound of many engines echoing through some vast space. It came and went like a tide, swelling slightly, then receding, then swelling again. But we were alone on that highway. I hadn't seen a single other vehicle. "You hear it now," he said, voice barely audible. I didn't answer. I grabbed my mic. "Carla, this is 9. I've located the stranded vehicle near 118. I'm hooking him up now. You sure there's no other traffic reported on this stretch?" Static hissed briefly. "9. I'm not showing you at 118, she said. GPS still has you stopped near 102. Are you messing with me?" I frowned. "I'm looking at the 118 marker, clear as day. Maybe the fog's knocking out the signal." "Maybe," she said doubtfully. "Just get him and get out of there." "And 9? "Yeah." CHP just confirmed again. 47 north is closed to all traffic past 110. There shouldn't be anyone out there. Not you, not him. A chill went through me. I glanced back at Daniel. He was watching me with a kind of desperate intensity. "What did she say?" he asked. "Nothing," I lied. I moved quickly, trying to shake the unease. I hooked the sedan to my truck, checked the chains twice, then signaled to him to put the car in neutral. He nodded, hands still trembling on the wheel. I climbed back into my truck and started forward slowly. In the mirrors, I could see his car following steadily, swallowed and revealed by the patches of fog swirling in my rear lights. The roar in the distance grew louder. It wasn't constant. It pulsed, as if an unseen river of traffic kept surging past somewhere nearby, behind a wall I couldn't see. I passed mile marker 117, then 116, then 115. But from the moment we started moving, something felt wrong. The markers were counting down, sure, but the distance between them felt off. Sometimes it seemed like only a few seconds passed between signs. Other times it felt like minutes, with no new number appearing in the gray. My sense of speed warped. I checked the speedometer more than once, but it hovered around 35, steady. "Carla," I said into the mic, "we're heading southbound toward the city. Visibility's bad but manageable. Any updates on the closure?" Silence. "Carla," I repeated. The radio crackled, then spilled a wash of static so loud I flinched. Buried in the noise for just a second, I thought I heard another voice. Not Carla's. Not anyone I recognized. A deep, distorted tone that might have been words or just interference. Then the sound cut off completely. The radio's display went dark. I swallowed and tried my phone. No signal, not even a flicker. The roar was louder now, ebbing and flowing at the edge of hearing. It reminded me of being in a tunnel with traffic above you. The sound of cars you can't see, but know are there. Except there was no tunnel, just flat highway and fog in every direction. In the rearview mirror, Daniel's sedan followed obediently. But every so often, when the fog swirled just right, for a fraction of a second, the car looked wrong. Older, dirtier, a crack in the windshield that hadn't been there before. Then the mist would shift, and it would be normal again. At 112, my headlights picked out barricades and flashing signs up ahead. The closure I should have seen earlier, except they were facing the other direction, angled to block northbound traffic. Behind them, the highway was utterly still. No CHP cruiser, no workers, just a few cones and a blinking arrow board telling nobody to merge left. I slowed to a stop. Daniel's car rolled to a halt behind me on the tow. I stepped out again. The fog seemed thicker here, pressing down like a weight. I walked up to one of the barricades and touched it. Solid, real. Its reflective strips threw my flashlight beam back into my eyes. From somewhere beyond the closure, muffled by the fog, the roar surged again, a loud, passing wave of traffic. I could almost picture it, a dense stream of vehicles rushing by on a road that wasn't this one, in a world that wasn't this one. I went back to Daniel's window and signaled for him to roll it down. "What's going on?" he asked. "We hit the closure," I said. "We're turning around, heading back the way we came. I'll take the nearest exit that's open." His eyes flicked past me toward the unseen source of the roaring traffic. "You hear them, right?" "I hear something," I admitted. "They're not on this road," he whispered. "They're on the other one." I frowned. "What other one?" He swallowed. "The one I left." My skin crawled. "Left how?" He squeezed his eyes shut. "I was driving," he said, voice shaking. "Same as you. Fog got worse and worse. Couldn't see the lines, couldn't see the signs. I just followed the faint red glow ahead of me. Thought it was another car. Then there was a screech, a blare of a horn, and this feeling like the bottom dropped out. I remember looking down and seeing the speedometer at 75, way too fast. I remember the guardrail coming at me sideways. He opened his eyes again. They were wet with tears. Next thing I knew, I was here. Engine off, lights dead, no other cars, no sound but that echo. I took a step back. "You called dispatch," I said, more to myself than to him. "You gave your name, your location." He nodded slowly. "I needed someone to find me, to tell me which road I ended up on." The roar swelled again, loud enough now that I could almost pick out individual engines in the mix. A honk here, a tire's squeal there. All of it strangely warped and distant. "Maybe you were just in shock," I said, clinging to reason. "You crashed. You walked away without realizing it. He reached suddenly through the open window and grabbed my wrist. His hand was freezing colder than the air. "Look at them," he whispered. "Look at the mile markers." I pulled free and turned. The nearest marker was just visible in the glow of my truck's headlights. 112. "Yeah," I said. "Watch," he said. I stared at the sign. The fog shifted lazily around it. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, as I blinked, the numbers seemed to flip like an old mechanical clock rolling over. 1 second it was 112. The next, 210. I staggered back. I blinked again, hard. It was 112. No, 018. No, 118. The digits shuffled when I wasn't looking directly at them, as if some invisible hand were cycling through possible realities and hadn't decided which one we belonged to yet. "Which one is home?" Daniel said quietly. "Which one is yours?" I turned back to him slowly. "What are you?" I asked before I could stop myself. His expression crumpled into something like grief. "I'm a caller," he said. "I called for help. They always send someone. Sometimes they find me. Sometimes they don't." He looked past me, into the fog, where the unseen river of traffic roared by, just out of reach. "I think I went off," he said. "I think I crossed the median. I think I went under the guardrail or over it, down where the ground drops away. I think I'm still there, but I don't know." He met my eyes again. There was something pleading in his gaze. "Can you check?" he asked quietly. "Can you go back and see if I'm still on the other road?" My mouth went dry. "What happens if I do?" He was silent for a long moment. The roar swelled and faded, swelled and faded. "Some of you come back," he said finally. "Some of you don't." I stood there, caught between the thrum of my own truck and the phantom highway in the fog. In that moment, I understood what he was really asking. Not just for rescue, but for confirmation. For someone from the still-breathing world to tell him whether he was part of it or not. I thought of my small apartment, my overdue bills, my lonely coffee maker on the counter. I thought of the other calls waiting in the queue, the people stuck on real shoulders, on real roads, counting on someone like me to show up. "I'm sorry," I said, and I meant it. I went back to my truck, unhooked the chains with shaking hands, and climbed into the cab. My fingers hovered over the ignition for a second, then turned the key. The engine rumbled to life. I didn't look at Daniel as I pulled away. I didn't watch his car recede in the mirror. I kept my eyes on the faint glow of my own headlights, on the painted lines, willing them to behave like normal, solid things that didn't shuffle and flicker between worlds when I blinked. The roar behind the fog grew louder, then softer, then finally faded altogether. After what felt like both a lifetime and 10 minutes, I saw the electronic sign again, 47, north closed at mile 110, use alt route. This time, there were barricades across the ramp. I passed them slowly, heading back toward town on surface streets, my heart hammering. When I finally got cell service again, I called Carla. Her voice was shaky. "9, where the hell have you been?" she demanded. "You dropped off GPS completely. CHP said nobody should be on 47 North. I thought you'd wrecked." "I'm fine," I said, though I didn't believe it. "About that stranded motorist, Daniel Price. Did he call back?" She was quiet for a beat. "Who?" "The guy at mile 118, I insisted. "Engine failure. You patched him through." "I didn't patch anyone through to you," she said slowly. "I paged you directly when the system pinged your unit as closest to a potential incident. Anonymous crash detection. No caller, no name." My skin went cold. "What about the number tied to the alert?" "Already checked," she said. "Belongs to a guy named Daniel Price. Yeah, but he's not the one who called." "Then who did?" "9. She hesitated. "The number's been inactive for 3 years. Owner died in a car accident on 47 North. Lost in the fog. They didn't find his car for 2 days. I hung up without saying goodbye. I pulled over onto a well-lit side street and just sat there, shaking, listening to the mundane sounds of the city, distant sirens, a barking dog, a car's stereo thumping a block away. Since that night, I still answer calls. I still go out when people are stranded in the dark. But I always check the mile markers twice. I always listen carefully to the background noise when a call comes in, for the sound of a highway that isn't mine, rushing past on the other side of some foggy divide. And whenever I see a car on the shoulder in heavy fog, engine dead, lights off, I hesitate, just for a second, because I can't help but wonder, am I about to help someone get back to the road they belong on? Or am I really just crossing over to confirm they've already left it behind? If you were in my place, out there alone in the fog, would you have gone back to check whether Daniel was still lying in a crushed car on the other road? Or would you have done exactly what I did and driven away?